read the bill.
Senate Joint Resolution 5, sponsored by Senator Driscoll, Convention of States. A joint resolution requesting Congress to call a convention for proposing amendments to the United States Constitution as specified. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 4 Education has referred Senate Joint Resolution 5, Convention of States. Respect the report, send back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes, Representatives Andrew, Erickson, Lawley, Singh, Williams. Noes, Representatives Bratton, Guggenmoss, Strzok. Excused, Representative Kelly. Representative Andrew, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Senate Joint Resolution 5 do pass, and I turn over the explanation to the co-sponsor.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Joint Resolution 5, Convention of States. I'm a co-sponsor of Convention of States because I believe that the dysfunction in our nation's capital will not fix itself. Convention of States is outlined in Article 5 of our Constitution. I am unwilling to do nothing. At this time, I am not interested in going outside of our Constitution. I understand some of us may want to take time on the camera this evening to explain our votes to all the people at home who strongly support Convention of States. But I would remind you that as late in our debate here tonight is not going to change anyone's mind. Many of you are very passionate about the issue, and so I will yield to the discussion that I'm confident will hit all the high points. Thank you.
Any discussion? Representative Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's obvious that our nation's capital is not going to fix itself. If it is to be, it is up to us. It is up to the states. Last year, I stood here and I said that we have nothing to fear but fear itself. I still feel that way. Do you think our founding fathers would have put Article 5 in the Constitution if they would have feared it? I don't. Our founding fathers had faith in us. They want us to use it. So they put Article 5 in the Constitution. I don't need to review the 3 items that it addresses because I think you know them already, and that's it. Some are concerned about a runaway, particularly losing Second Amendment rights. I hear that constantly. 29 states have some kind of a concealed carry allowance. About 20 states have they have laws that allow you to bring guns right into the legislature. It only takes 13 states to kill any amendment. I don't think we have anything to fear. I don't think anything bad is going to happen. In this 250th anniversary of the Declaration of our Independence, let's honor our forefathers and show them that we have faith in the decisions that they made. Let's appreciate them and join 20 other states that have passed this resolution. Faith over fear. Thank you.
Representative Heft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I stand here this evening in awe of the founders of this great nation who took the time to give us a mechanism to when things have gotten, and when we concerned about a runaway, we're already there. Our nation's trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. And they're not checking spending yet. At what point do we make a decision that we have to do something? Article 5 convention has a lot of safeguards in it. And any amendment that's proposed by the convention goes through the same exact ratification process as amendments are proposed by Congress. Amendment proposed by the convention must be approved by 38 states. That means if a few states, and it's already been mentioned, 13 say no, then it's no. I don't believe it's as great a risk that is being reported. We've come to a crossroads, I believe, in our nation. Are we going to continue down this path? Because we got trouble, folks. We need to do something. I believe we need to get this process going. We got a ways to go in the nation. It is time to please consider a convention. Thank you.
Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to belabor the point. This very body a year ago had long discussion about this, and I doubt that anybody in this room has really changed their mind very much. But I wanted to say a couple of things. I do not believe still that the Constitution is the problem. And when I look around this room and I see the difference in this room today as opposed to 4 years ago or 6 years ago, and I say, we folks, we are proof that we already have term limits. I think we need to put a little more faith in the Constitution. The last two speakers, I consider both of them very dear friends. I also consider them incorrect here, but I want you to think long and hard about the diagnosis. What's really wrong? And I contend that what's really wrong is an apathetic populace that really isn't paying attention to things like the Constitution. And so we go change the Constitution, regardless of what happens. Do you think that's going to change the apathy toward the same? The problem is much bigger than just being able to change some words on a document. And that's where we've got to work, changing the hearts and minds of people.
Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On and for this resolution, I used to always be against it. Many of the same arguments you'll hear. And it's just not we're gonna have to fix this and use this method, I think. And then the good speaker from Park County, it takes 3/4 to ratify it. But the bottom line is the biggest threat to our nation is this spending issue, and every problem has a solution. You could solve this. You could take out a 30, 40-year mortgage. There's groups that have worked on this. You're going to have to raise some more taxes and you're going to have to cut some spending. It's a math problem, and those aren't popular. And our politicians in Washington, D.C. refuse to do it. And so it's a math problem in reverse, where every president now doubles the national debt. It's in the math. This one's going to double it. The next one will double it again. And then when do we say enough's enough? When we really have something really bad happen. So let's get out in front of this and do our part. Because, it's been years since we've ratified the Constitution. Ratified it 17 times after the first 10 Bill of Rights. And it's meant to change. It's meant to be changed. And this is one avenue to do that by thoughtful people on this floor who've been, thoughtful, engaged citizens have brought this to us. Those same citizens have changed my mind over the years. And so please vote aye, and let's become another state. And I think really when we get close, you're going to see Congress get off their rear end and actually bring these amendments forward. That's what I think you'll see happen. But we got to fix this problem. It will not fix itself. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am on and for this resolution. Folks, there are 3 points that are being made in it. It's fiscal restraints for the federal government. the limit of power of the federal government, and then term limits for Congress. So those first two items, fiscal restraints and the limit of power for the federal government, those are things we talk about in this chamber all the time, constant problems that we as a state have to deal with. But our voice, because we do not, we've delegated that authority to that chamber over there in the swampy area over there. We've delegated that authority and the ability to make decisions on these issues entirely to them. And the fact of the matter is they don't really care about the little guys. They don't care about the little guys. They don't care about the states that have less than 1 million people. But we, and part of this relationship, I think it's really important for us to think about the fact that we are in the United States of America. And the states precede the federal government. The federal government exists because we as states have allowed it to exist, and it's a relationship that we have with each other. And so this is a mechanism that is built into the Constitution itself in order to change the Constitution as necessary. The only thing that makes it unusual is the fact that we've never used it before. And so, but it's already built in there. The ability to mend a living document, it's common sense. We think about the things that are important to us, those rights that we cherish the most. Those are actually amendments to the Constitution. Those are changes that had to be made to the original Constitution. And so to say that we shouldn't touch the document itself ever, well, the reality is that we are faced with new challenges in our time, and we need to address those challenges. And in order for us to adequately represent our people and protect their rights, we need to make sure that we're able to outline them in a constitution. And that includes fiscal restraints to make sure that our next generation isn't shackled in debt. It includes limiting the power of the federal government so that the federal government doesn't step on the smaller states like us. And it includes term limits for Congress, because it's a shame that people grow old in a chamber like this. And so I'm on and for this resolution, and I hope you are too. Thank you.
Representative Brady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our current administration is favorable, in my opinion, to the people, but they can't do it alone. We're not guaranteed a friendly administration in the future. And how do we know that the convention will really be limited to the topics stated in the application? Over 400 applications for a convention of states have been passed, but we have never had one, because there have never been 34 applications seeking a convention for the same purpose. This demonstrates that the scope of the amendments specified in the application does matter. States can instruct their delegations to consider a more narrow scope than what is within the 34 applications, but they have no authority to broaden the topic. Again, there's 3 topics in this application that have not changed: government overreach, limiting government power; fiscal control, reining in federal spending; and term limits for congressional federal officials. We have had over 40 convention of states in our history, and none have ever strayed from their stated purpose, not even the 1787 Constitutional Convention. The delegates to that convention followed their instructions. The Article 5 convention process has more limitations than Congress, which can propose amendments to any topic at any time they're in session. They will never propose amendments to limit their own power, but we can. Please vote aye. Thank you.
Representative Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief because it is late. We've amended the U.S. Constitution, 27 times? A couple of those weren't so great. We've removed the ability for those amendments. So we know that touching the U.S. Constitution is something that should not be done lightly. It most especially should not be done because we are not willing to enforce laws that are already on the books. I urge a no vote on this.
Representative Warf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm sure that everybody's already in their proper camps, but I feel like I got to stand up and speak in opposition to this measure. It really concerns me when I see
discussions moving forward about amending the Constitution, I look at just the stuff, the problems that we face in our state. I believe in state sovereignty. I believe in states' rights. I believe that we have a duty to stand up and push back against federal government. That is the government that we were given. It's supposed to have the states pushing back against the federal government. But I think that's going down a very dangerous path when we start talking about amending the Constitution, which they already don't follow. And I think it's very naive to think that the current administration, with the inability for Congress or the big government to the east, they're so dysfunctional right now, I can't believe anybody would dare trust them to amend the Constitution to begin with. I think before we can amend the Constitution, we have to get our own house in order. We have discussion all the time. We're asking the federal government to give us back authority over the lands which are in our state. And it boggles my mind that we say out of one side we're okay with it, but yet nobody's fighting to really assess or assert our sovereignty. I look at the problems that we have. We're begging our congressional staff to write letters to allow us to retain more of our mineral rights. If we truly thought we were sovereign, we wouldn't be asking them to write a letter and pass a bill. We would be acting as though we were a sovereign state. I think we beg too much, and I don't think going through a con or Convention of the States is a way to fix this. I think we got to learn to stand on our own before we can expect the other states to stand up. And so that's the problem that I see with this. I'm worried that this is a false sense of hope, but I think it opens up a constitution. And I can tell you, I don't want to be obligated to follow a constitution that significantly varies or differs from the one that we have today, because that will make me an outlaw. The minute we change that constitution, I'm not willing to give up on the constitution we have today for one that we think we can improve upon. I don't think we have the ability under today's climate to improve that. So I would urge a no vote. Thanks for your listening ear.
Representative Warf. Schmid, sorry. That was that guy. Representative Schmid, go ahead. It's late.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's getting late. Members, I'm kind of like our colleague, our great coach from the center of the state, the oil city. It took me a while to get here, but I support this resolution. I'll kind of repeat what I said last year. You know, when we talked about this, I think everybody in this body has probably at one time talked about how brilliant our founders were, how smart they were, how they put all these documents together for us to live by, and look at the nation we built because of it, what it's become. But when it comes to this, evidently they weren't so smart. That's what a lot of people seem to believe. How did they miss this one? I think they were brilliant enough to know that this day was coming. And I think it would be a shame if we didn't use the tool in the toolbox that they put together for us. Is there risk? Yeah, there is risk. But think about the risk this country's made in the 250 years we've been here. Everything we've done has been risky. From the day of the Revolution, some of the things Washington did, Lincoln did, everything's been risky. This will have some risks. But I think we're good enough to overcome those risks. I trust us and I trust our founders. That's why they give us this tool. I urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Representative Rigggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't tell you how much fun I think a convention would be. All the buildup, all the drama, all the excitement. I would love to be there and watch a convention. But I thought maybe before we give that a try, I thought we're all members of a smaller political subdivision. why don't we try grabbing one of those favorite amendments that they want to pass? I don't care, pick one. The one you think everybody's going to vote for. Start at that political subdivision, move it up to the next subdivision, bring it up to the next higher subdivision, and see if that amendment looks anything like you started with. I mean, just as an exercise, I think it'd be worth doing. I thought about it when I was in a smaller political subdivision. Grabbing one, if I could just get them to agree amongst a bunch of agreeable people. And I wasn't having much success. So I would try that first to see if an amendment would even survive our own scrutiny.
Representative McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was a yes on this last year. I do believe in the Constitution, but my confidence in people has been completely destroyed over the last 2 weeks. That's what I don't have confidence in. We've changed a lot since our founders came up with these documents. We're no longer the God-believing nation that we used to be, not even remotely close. I have every confidence in our founders and the Constitution. It's the people I don't have the confidence in. I will be a no.
Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm against this bill. Or this resolution, excuse me. It's been said, I'll try not to bore everybody, but long and the short of it is, I think Representative said it beautifully. We have all kinds of opportunities to take back our sovereignty. Okay, changing the Constitution isn't going to fix this problem. Us going back and making a few changes to the Constitution, we're going to do it better? I don't think so. At the end of the day, why don't we start here, taking back our sovereignty, quit selling ourselves out federal dollars, and really take this back and do it right and do it locally. Take it back here first. Again, I'm against the resolution.
Representative Brady. Representative Brady.
Thank you. Just want to say, all those of my colleagues that see differently than I still love them. The Constitution is not the problem. It's the answer. For the other representative, those whom you don't have confidence in, since the last couple of weeks, they were here before. So, another representative mentioned con-con. It is not a con-con, and that phrase needs to be, perhaps they need to be educated on what this is. It's not a constitutional convention, it's a convention of the states. Just want to make those corrections. Thank you.
Representative Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out Article 1, Section 8, Clause 13, United States Navy was formed. I would hate to lose that. I'd hate to lose any portion of this great document, the Constitution and the amendments that we have so far. But this resolution asks for a constraint on federal spending. What would that do when we already have spending on things that are unconstitutional at the federal level? We have agencies which are basically used to coerce the states. There's nothing in the Constitution for an FBI, a DEA, a BATF, an FTC, an FEC, a National Weather Service, Department of Education. These are all things that are used to coerce the states to behave the way the federal government would like us to act, rather than being sovereign. So if we were to pass a resolution that says that we will put fiscal constraints on a government that's already spending outside of its constitutional responsibilities, we will have codified those spending measures, effectively putting it so that they're in the Constitution, things that are not there now. If we will just enforce the Constitution that we have, we will be able to control the spending, but it's going to take hard work. Every one of us has got to put our heart and soul into it. But I really don't want to lose the Navy. On and against.
Representative Weber.
Thank you. You know what I'm worried about right now is when I look at our body right here, and one of the first things we've done in committee meetings and even in the House committee, one of the first things we've done is suspend the rules. I don't know if there's a guarantee from anything that I've read supporting this resolution that that wouldn't happen. I don't want to trust that. I'm against this.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the discussion. I'll remind you, it takes 34 states to approve this resolution to call a convention. 20 states have approved it so far. It takes 38 states to ratify any change that come out of the convention. I understand some of you are fearful of an amendment, a change that would come out of that convention. But consider writing down the list of the 38 states that would ratify that. This is a very deliberate process. It takes 3/4 of the other states to ratify any change out of a convention of states. I invite you to take courage, stand up, stand with me, and vote yes. Thank you.
Question having been called. All those in favor of Chairman Andrews' motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that Senate Joint Resolution 5 do pass. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. The chair is in doubt. Division having been called, a standing division vote is required. All those in favor, please stand. All those opposed, please stand. By a vote of 18 to 26, the measure has failed. Having failed a standing division vote, a roll call vote is required. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, excused. Chestick, Clauston, excused. Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Hornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haraldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused. Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, excused. Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Rigggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, excused. Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Warf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Weber? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 21 aye, 28 no, 7 excused, 6 absent.
Pursuant to House Rule 6-6B, Senate Joint Resolution 5 having failed, a roll call vote is indefinitely postponed.
Hi everyone, Rita Peters here, and you have been watching a debate of the Wyoming House of Representatives in consideration of our Article 5 Convention of States legislation referred to as SJ5. Unfortunately, we failed on the floor today with a vote of 21 in favor, 21 opposed. 21 in favor, 28 opposed, with 13 members absent from the floor. It was a late night there in Wyoming, and we were pushed to the very bottom of the agenda, so that did make an uphill battle for us. Still, it was disappointing that so many members were absent tonight. Just to give you a very quick recap, I don't have the heart to do more, to be perfectly frank with you. Our sponsors there did an incredible job of arguing in favor of our COS application. A couple of them spoke of being converted to Convention of State supporters once they came to really understand it better, or once they realized that it's really our only hope at this point to impose meaningful and permanent reforms on our runaway federal government. I like that many of them emphasized that we have currently a runaway federal government in Washington, D.C. Some of them said that, yes, they believe there is a small risk to a convention, but they believe it's well worth that tiny risk in light of how bad the status quo is in our federal system today. So our supporters on the floor there did a great job. I was really proud of them, proud that so many of them stood up to speak on behalf of our COS application and to try to convince their colleagues to vote in favor. The opponents rattled off their standard, uninformed talking points. It was really disappointing to see one member say that even though he had been a yes vote last year, he's a no vote this year, purely because of his disappointment in people. And that was a real disappointment, not only to lose his vote, but just to see that he somehow missed the fact that the founding fathers understood human nature very well. And that's the very reason that they provided this check on federal power by giving the states the ability to convene in convention and propose constitutional amendments to restore the balance of power, because they didn't trust members of Congress to restrain their own power. So that was a disappointment. I also note that the opponents just don't seem to get what it is that an Article 5 convention is, or what it's allowed to do and not allowed to do. They talk about it like this is about a rewrite of the Constitution or getting in there and changing parts of the Constitution. They don't understand that it's a convention for proposing amendments that if they get ratified by 38 states, they just get added to the Constitution, just like the 27 amendments that we already have. They think that because the Constitution isn't the problem. We heard this repeatedly. The Constitution isn't the problem, but they think that means that the Constitution can't be the solution. And I just wholeheartedly disagree. Even if we agree that the Constitution itself isn't the problem, the Constitution is the solution to federal overreach. So again, we did fail last night in the Wyoming House by a vote of 21 in favor, 28 opposed, with 13 members absent. Folks, this was a big setback. It was a big disappointment. Mark Meckler and I had a long conversation this morning. We shared our frustration over what transpired last night. We also shared our admiration and our appreciation for our incredible grassroots team, Julie Baker and her husband, Daryl, who were there, incredible patriots who, drive their own cars, spend their own money for gas to get there. 5-hour drive, I think is what it is for Julie Baker. And they've been at this for a long time. They are incredible patriots. They are well respected and regarded by the legislators, and they'll fight on. We will fight on. But yes, it was frustrating. We're also really proud, again, of all of our supporters in the legislature. The Senate that stood strong and acted with courage to even bring our COS application forward in a budget year. We're so proud of them and grateful for their leadership and support. The House members who spoke eloquently and boldly on the floor last night, we're so grateful for them and proud of them and their courage. And we believe that ultimately that courage, that boldness and reason and logic will win out in this fight. But the time for that win was not last night. It has not yet come. It will come in God's timing. And I just want to repeat something that Mark often reminds me of, and that we really do believe. The duty is ours. The results are up to God. We believe that. Now, it's easy to say, harder to live, but we're determined to live that out. And Mark reminded me of that this morning. Now, I'm going to sign off, and then I'm going to leave you at the end. Don't stop watching now, because even though I'm going to do my little sign off, we're going to close this broadcast with a video, very personal video that Mark is making for you right now as he sits in the airport. So before you watch that video, remember, subscribe, share, and catch all the action at conventionofstates.com/COS live. Check out COS at Home on Wednesday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Jonathan Viad will interview Mark Meckler. That's conventionofstates.com/at home. Tune in on Sundays for Mark Meckler's Battle Cry broadcast. If you want to ask the president of Convention of States a question, go to conventionofstates.com/ask Mark. And finally, push the movement forward with us by visiting conventionofstates.com/act. And with that, I'm going to leave you with these words by Convention of States founder and president, Mark Meckler.
Hey guys, Mark Meckler here. I am in the airport in Denver, Colorado. On my way home from Cheyenne, Wyoming. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a recap of what happened yesterday in Cheyenne. So I first want to go give you a little bit of history, which is just on this year. We had a great plan. We had great leadership there. We have a great lobbyist. Julie and Gerald Baker, a couple of the best volunteers that you could possibly have anywhere in the country. Blessed, I can say that all over the country, but these guys are true American heroes. They just put so many miles on their car and bring their dogs and travel all over the state and meet with anybody and everybody. They know everybody in the legislature. Love those guys. Great grassroots there. So here's the history of this year, which is really interesting. It's a budget session, which means normally something like Convention of States wouldn't get heard. You have to get a 2/3 vote in one of the houses to even get heard and have a vote. So we did that. Unbelievably, amazingly, got a 2/3 vote in the Senate. That brought us to a committee hearing in the Senate, which we won. Brought us to the floor of the Senate, where we won handily. And then it moved us to the House. The House is a lot more complicated for us. The leadership in the House is opposed to us. A bunch of dark forces, I would say, inside the House. So it's an uphill battle from the start in the House. Numbers are not great for us over there. It's a stretch. And so we went in, I went and spent the week there, beginning of the week anyway, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And God, I love being there with those guys. So we didn't initially think we were even going to get a committee hearing. We got assigned to a committee. We came out of committee, another miracle. Then we went to the floor. We thought maybe they just would kill us, table us, not even vote on us on the floor. And instead, we managed to get on the calendar. And by get on the calendar, I mean, they put us very, very last. Like, we might not ever even get heard. And ultimately, we waited and waited. I was there all day yesterday from about 6:45 a.m. until, I don't know, 10 at night or something. And we got heard. We were the very last. And I think that was partially a strategy by leadership to beat us down and to hope that some of our people wouldn't be there on the floor. And that indeed happened. I think we had 6 or 7 people who, by the time session ended, they had other commitment. They were gone. So we lost a bunch of votes. But ultimately, and this is important, we only lost by 4 votes. It was close. I mean, this has been an absolutely amazing year in Wyoming. So am I frustrated by losing? Yeah, I hate losing. I always hate losing. Doesn't matter the circumstances. When you can't put the win in the win column, you can't put that little mark in the win column, it's always frustrating, especially when you're on the ground and there and dealing with it. But that being said, only 4 votes all the way through all that other stuff. I considered a great year with a lot of wins we should count along the way in Wyoming. And by the way, we'll be back next year and we'll win.